following review has been approved by Lord Carnage and the best of classic game room. Bird Week! Bird Week! Bird Week! Yeah! Feed the baby birds butterflies! It's like Defender with birds and mushrooms! Oh, this is what the game actually sounds like. It's Bird Week for the Nintendo Famicom. What, you've never played Bird Week? Well, it's about time that you do, because, to my surprise, this game's actually pretty good. Judging by the game cartridge, I thought this was gonna be something horrible, but boy was I wrong. You play a bloodthirsty, murderous mommy bird saving her little ones from certain death at the hands of Mother Nature. Now that's a battle worth fighting. Level 4 brings out the flying squirrel and orange trees. Bird Week gets progressively harder as you keep playing. Collecting those butterflies and dodging enemies is quite challenging. Don't forget to pick up the mushroom and drop it on enemies. There's a message there. That's right. Just don't know what it is. If you don't feed your baby birds in time, they die. Horribly. But they leave you with some pretty rockin' music, so that's okay. Bird Week! Bird Week! Bird Week! Get the bonus! Lighthouse! One of the many things that makes this game quite interesting beyond the art design is the controls. It's not terribly easy to fly a bird, as it turns out. This thing doesn't move around the screen quite as well as many of these spaceships that you might be used to flying in other games. It is a bird after all, and now we get the woodpecker. Watch out. For the most part, it's a pretty simple game. As you can tell, you collect the butterflies, fly them back to your nest, feed your little ungrateful birds, who eventually fly away and leave you, and then rack up enormous college bills. And after about 5 years, they move back home and decide they're going to be herbal therapists and can't afford rent or a car, but somehow manage to have $5,000 in tattoos. Bird Week is more than a simple Famicom game that you've never heard of. It's social commentary with birds and flying squirrels and woodpeckers and mushrooms. And some kind of weird thing that comes out of the ground that, when touched, turns into an alarm clock. Bird Week! Bird Week! Bird Week! It's a snail. I didn't realize it was a snail, and that's a stopwatch. Dumbass. It doesn't look like it would be that much fun, but it is. There's something extremely likable about this game, and I seriously recommend it. If you can find a copy, which you never will. I spoke too soon. I just checked eBay. There's a whole bunch of them and they're pretty cheap, so you definitely want a copy of Bird Week. You fly around and collect butterflies and save birds and kill things by dropping mushrooms on them. Bird Week is dope. I've got a classic game room shout out and thank you to send all the way to Felicity from Worcestershire, England. Thank you for sending Bird Week. You know what I've learned about birds? They don't have lasers. At least most of them don't. That's true. I do feel like this game is a bit of a missed opportunity because they could have reskinned it and turned it into an awesome Godzilla game. Just think of it. Mothra, Godzilla, Rodan could be like the hawk flying around. That would be so cool. Bird Week! Bird Week! Bird Week! Yeah! Lighthouse! Mappy-Land! Did you know there's a sequel to Mappy? You do now, and it's called Mappy-Land. From 1986. For the Nintendo Famicom from Namco. This one also has an NES release that's really cheap and easy to pick up on eBay, so if you enjoy what you see in this review, I think you'll dig the game. Mappy-Land is pretty fun. Did you see what I did there? I just rode the meat hook or whatever and kicked the police cat in the face. Got some big points for it. Now I'm eating cheese because I'm a mouse. Because that's what mice do. They eat cheese. And fire cannons at unsuspecting cowboy cats. What a strange game. But so much fun. This has a lot of the same gameplay elements that you'll find in the first Mappy, but this one's got some clever new levels as well as like this punching bag. That was a smooth move, Mark. I recorded that and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm putting that in the review. Those are some legit Mappy-Land skills right there, and by skills, I mean the ones that pay the bills. Mappy-Land. You cannot make a career out of playing Mappy-Land. Not that I know of, actually. To be fair, I haven't tried. The first 3 levels in this game are exactly what you would expect from the Mappy series. They added some different stuff in there, like the bombs, which are pretty fun. If you put a bomb in the ground, the little cats will blow up, you score some points, and I think it also works if they run over the bomb. Use that to your advantage, rack up some big points, score an extra Mappy, because by level 4 this game starts to get really challenging, and not because I think it's all that difficult, but because the controls are incredibly touchy. This game requires incredible precision when jumping, especially here in the Donkey Kong Jr. level where you have to jump and grab those vines. You wouldn't believe how easy it is to fall into the water, and then Mappy drowns. You have to drop onto the trampolines just perfectly, grab the cheese, ride the next trampoline up, and then drop something on, I guess, Donkey Kong. I don't know what that... The monkey? A random monkey? Oh, that thing that's blinking back and forth. I'm not exactly sure what those are called, but they distract the cats. And if you're running away from the cats and you plant one of those, the cats are all like drunk and just dance in circles around it. And you light them on fire. You don't, but you can ride the meat hook into them. Doesn't this level have a bit of a Sonic the Hedgehog vibe to it? I have just proven that Sonic the Hedgehog copied Mappy-Land. Who knew? Who knew? This level's fun. Instead of riding meat hooks, he spins on a bar like Jean-Claude Van Damme, spin kicking people in the face for big points. Mappy-Land. I love these random Famicom games. I'd never heard of this until it showed up. Sent to the show by my friend Mark in East Meadow, New York. So thank you once again, Mark, for sending Mappy-Land. I really dig the original Mappy. And this one is fun. Level 4 is really frustrating, though. I like the changes, though. I feel like any sequel had to do something different, yet still try to keep it more or less the same, and this does it. Like the original game, you can bounce on the trampolines past enemies, but you can't run into them. I kept playing the game over and over again. Eventually got frustrated with level 4, which is by far the hardest of the bunch. You have to collect all of the cheese in order to clear out each level. And if you think this looks fun, I recommend it, especially if you enjoyed the original Mappy and want to see what the developers did with the sequel. Mappy-Land is highly recommended for your Famicom or Nintendo Entertainment System. Banished from Earth Classic Game Room broadcasts from the Intergalactic Space Arcade on its never-ending mission to review everything. This end boss is one giant pussy.
Welcome to Classic Game Room. You know the game has got to be good when it features a spaceship attacking a giant bunny rabbit. It's Gun-Nac for the Famicom.
I'm sorry, I never even got her name. She gave me points though, that was awfully nice of her. Die!
Now, I don't know what's going on in this game, but apparently there's a giant bunny rabbit attacking, and you've got to destroy a bunch of weird things with lasers. Which sounds great. This is Gun-Nac from 1990 for the Nintendo Famicom from Compile, who you may know from some other excellent spaceship shooters like Gun-Nac, the Aleste series, and of course, Musha, one of my personal favorites on the Genesis. Now, this game is great. I can't believe it's taken me this long to review it. It's also on the Nintendo Entertainment System, so for those of you in the West with an NES, you can pick up Gun-Nac. It reminds me of Power Strike 2, also from Compile for the Game Gear, combined with SNK's excellent Alpha Mission 2. Lots of 2s.
I love the demented bunny rabbits. That's just awesome.
But none of those games have future space bunny rabbits attacking you with laser carrots. That's what makes Gun-Nac a must-have. Actually, this game also kind of reminds me of the awesome Twinbee series, because of its lighthearted, goofy nature and excellent gameplay.
Yeah! Stupid bunny! Never liked rabbits.
The music is terrific, and I haven't seen the NES version before, but if it's like most of the other Famicom games I've reviewed, I imagine it's pretty similar to this, probably with English text.
Let's see, I'll have one of these. Sure. Wait, what's that button do? Okay.
It would seem that you can buy some powers and bombs and stuff in between each round, I think. And as you're flying, you'll see a bunch of number power-ups out there. Collecting those will give you different weapon options.
Everybody die.
One button on your Famicom controller fires, the other unleashes the Everyone Die special weapon. Handy when you need everything to die on screen.
B, T, wait, no, what's that thing do? Am I spelling something? Can I spell fun? That's spelled F-U-N. Usually. B! What does that do? I don't know.
The number powers change your main laser weapon or whatever, and it took me several playthroughs of the game to figure out the letters change your bombs. It also took me a little while to figure out I was not being attacked by space laser swords and fire weapons. These are giant cigarettes and lighters.
I'm confused. Are the cigarettes bad, or is it giving me cigarettes? Like, hey man, I think you need to smoke.
Interesting, so Gun-Nac is basically a giant public service announcement. And it only gets better from there.
It's like the evils of money. I like money, because money buys Truxton. Oh, it's like we're Xevious now. Uh-oh. What's the 3 do? Oh, the homing missiles. Well, these aren't too bad, I suppose. Go get all the enemies. Make my life easier.
Yes, what you see on screen is pretty much the way this game is, which is awesome. The only problem is that for those of you looking to collect Gun-Nac for your NES, it'll cost a small fortune. Is it worth it? Well, you're paying for rarity, but the game is just terrific. Actually, the Famicom version is far more affordable if you're really serious about the game. And I would highly recommend it, but I never recommend paying for rarity, so go for the cheapest version available. I think it's a lot of fun. It reminds me of all the games I've mentioned. It's got a nice Twinbee style to it, while also having that Musha Compile feel.
Ow, get your stupid tree hands away from me.
And it doesn't have a punishing difficulty level, so with a few playthroughs, you'll get the game down. And then start concentrating on maximizing your points. And once again, I have another classic game room shout out, and thank you to send to the great state of New York, to Mark from Fresh Meadows. Thank you once again, Mark.
Trophies! It's like I'm being attacked by the 7 deadly sins. What is this? My pride and arrogance will get me killed.
It would be a sin to miss Gun-Nac, so if you get a chance, play it. Pick it up, borrow it from a friend, and just forget to return it.
What the fuck?
It's worth it. It's Gun-Nac.
Being attacked by combs. What are these things? Ah. Well, it's not every day you get attacked by Banks and Afro picks.
Do you like classic game room? Then more classic game room.
Who's ready to take it back to 1986 on your Nintendo Famicom with Baltron? Baltron, like a combination of Voltron and Balrog, which is weird, but also cool at the same time. Kinda like this game. It's weird, kinda cool. The Famicom's not known for its spaceship shooters, but this one is worth checking out, maybe because it'll only cost you a couple bucks if you like super duper old school, hard as nails, horizontally scrolling spaceship shooters. This one might be for you. There's a storyline. It's very important. Let's read it together. Time is 2,999 space year. We are living on the planet Starlenian, which is very similar to the Earth. Oh, the thing scrolled too fast. Damn it. Stuff. Baltron, Earth, lasers, blow things up with spaceships. There. That's all you really need to know. For the piece of space, it's Baltron. I fight for space peace. I fight for the freedom to wear short shorts. That was EDF, but regardless, grab your Famicom or NES controller, whatever, and get ready to die over and over and over again in this game, which is like a combination of Defender and Vanguard and like a whole bunch of other games. The radar screen is obviously very Defenderish. Now, you can change directions, but so far I've found no reason to do that. 9 times out of 10 you die, or at least I died, trying to change directions. There's also a smart bomb, which is the flash. And on the top right there you see it says flash, and you activate that by pushing up and B. And then you can warp. If you're totally screwed, warping is a good idea. That applies to pretty much any situation. You push down and B to warp. So if you find yourself in a tunnel later in the game when it gets really hard and you're like, I'm about to crash into this stalactite which is guarded by missiles, warp out of there and then you can die the next time around. Baltron. I think I picked this game up for like $5 or $6 a couple of years ago. It's been sitting buried in my collection forever. And I guess I never got around to reviewing it, so I'm putting the show back together here and thought it would be fun to review Baltron. And it kind of is, except it's very hard. It's one of these games from the era where like you just have to memorize every little part of the map and just be pixel perfect with your flying. It looks a little bit like Thexter, but Thexter was way better. Let's be honest, Baltron is okay. It's not great. $5, looking for something different. Check out Baltron. Maybe it's even worth $10. Somewhere in there between $5 and $10. Don't spend more than that. because it does get boring after a while. Oh, you kidding me? Warp. What with the constant crashing into barriers and stalagmites and the merciless enemies and... Oh, here, pro tip. It took me a while to figure this out. You need to refuel. And the refueling canisters are the blue things that float up in front of you. So they're easy to shoot. It's kind of like River Raid. So don't shoot them. Oh, another thing about this game. You can carpet bomb koalas. Any game that allows you to carpet bomb koalas can't be all bad. Got the funky chicken! Stupid koala. We'll eat it later. I mean, I don't think you're supposed to carpet bomb them. I collected this one, but, I just ejected it into space later. Carpet bombing puts them out of their misery quickly. If any animal deserves to be carpet bombed from space, it's koalas. They're cute, sure, but they're up to no good. I don't trust them. Also, I think there's like a space chicken that you're supposed to collect or something. I kept shooting it accidentally because, if you get in front of my lasers, you're getting shot in space. Baltron. I fight for the freedom of space! I fight for the extermination of interstellar murder koalas. In the year 2999. Baltron. As far as I can tell, Baltron was released only to the Famicom and not the Western NES. If you search for it on eBay, you'll pull up a bunch of Famicom cartridges and Dungeons & Dragons expansion packs for Baltron's Beacon. Fooled you, stupid barrier! I warped away! Only to crash into you. Another day, that rhymes. It's also sadly accurate. Whoa, god damn it. Playing this on the family computer instead of one of those fancy HDMI NES thingies because I'm bringing all these reviews back super old school. I may start recording the Atari stuff on VHS again. Why not? Nobody else is doing it. I mean, there's a good reason, but it never stopped me before from doing something stupid. No. This level is tricksy. It's false. But hey, you know what's not stupid? Playing a little Baltron on your Famicom. You know why? Because it's kind of cool and you can bomb koalas. And it's hard. If you like hard games, here you go. Fight for space peace. Which is dumb, because then video games would be boring. What with peace and all. What would the buttons do if you couldn't shoot at each other? I'm gonna send a nice message to this person. Friendship! That sucks.
Banished from Earth Classic Game Room broadcasts from the intergalactic space arcade on its never-ending mission to review everything.
Welcome to Classic Game Room. Over the years, I've made fun of many Double Dragon games, but not this one. It's the original Double Dragon on the Nintendo Famicom. Double your dragon. Double your fun! What happens if you triple your dragons?
Gotta love that music. From 1988, it's Double Dragon on the Famicom. It's been a long time since I've played the original on the NES. I loved this game as a kid, and it's still good! Oh, that always looks like it hurts. I still have nightmares about those guys that come out of the mountain. Their faces look weird. They look like smashed up smiley face cookies.
These guys are jerks! Let's punch them all! Does this remind anybody else of the Battletoads theme? Just curious.
Bimmy, Jimmy. While this lacks the BJ theme from Double Dragon on the Neo Geo CD, the music is excellent. One of the most memorable features of Double Dragon on the NES, or, well, the Famicom version here. I'm actually playing this on the analog NT Mini, so it looks really nice. And as anyone who's played this game knows, it plays really well. This is just a good, classic, solid side-scrolling beat-em-up.
You gotta respect girls with perms that show up to the party with their own whips. I'll be sure to edit that line out of the review.
Smashing people with barrels never gets old. It's hard for me to get past the music in this game, though. I think that's what struck me the most after playing it, revisiting this game for the first time in like 30 years.
This music's great. Also, I like their hair. They've got the purple 80s mom perm.
It's one of these guys. I hate these guys. Kick him off the edge.
Get back to sweating with the oldies, ladies.
Unless you've been living under a rock, there's a good chance you've played this game, or certainly games like it. You punch and kick and beat the crap out of all of the enemies on your way to save your girlfriend or whoever the unfortunate 8-bit lady was that got punched in the beginning.
Oh, this guy! I hate these guys! Off the edge of the screen with you! And your silly mustache. Man, the music just keeps getting better in this game.
Keep an eye out for a selection of weapons like baseball bats that you can use to your advantage. What makes Double Dragon so good, in addition to the music, is that it plays really well on the NES. There's thousands of games like this from back in the day. Some of the better ones are Streets of Rage, even Golden Axe is a lot like this.
Now up here, let's see, we jump, dodge his stupid bat swing, pick up the wiffle ball bat, where I'm gonna do it like this, and I'm gonna do it like that.
Or you can move all over the screen while you're attacking enemies. The basic rules always apply though. Don't get yourself surrounded and approach enemies at an angle.
The 1980s lead me to believe that all construction sites are violent battlegrounds, filled with thugs waiting to kick my ass. But no! I shall kick theirs.
Double Dragon is the master of sound. I love this part. But wait, it gets even better. I love this. No, it's not just one of these guys, now there's two. They're like the Doublemint twins, except ugly and harder to kill. You just want to jump up into their face and either punch them before they hit you or kill them using your jump kick attack from afar. Because they do a lot of damage, so you want to keep your distance if at all possible.
Yeah! I used to play the hell out of this game when I was a kid. People think I don't like Double Dragon games because I usually make fun of them, but I love this one. And the Neo Geo CD Double Dragon. Because you can't beat a game that has the BJ theme. Bimmy! Jimmy! Yeah! This is my favorite part of the music. Don't kick me, I'm turning up the radio! Whoops. Alright, I just leveled up. See those hearts at the bottom of this screen? They're not my health. That's my power. The other bar is my health. As you play through Double Dragon, you get new attacks and new power, but the enemies always seem to keep up with you, so I'm not really sure what good it does. And then at some point in the middle of the game, it transforms from a side-scrolling beat-em-up brawler to this weird side-scrolling aliens platformer. It's a cool game. Double Dragon is one of the best games on the NES/Famicom. While the title of the game and the franchise and the music may steal the show, the art design is really good. I love their use of color here in this level. The lava pits look really nice, and the flashing is very cool too. It's a good effect. Oh no! Take your purple hair and baggy pants somewhere else! Oh no, now it's this guy, but he's green! See, you want to jump close to him, and then kick. In typical 80s beat-em-up fashion, the game just keeps throwing more and more of the same enemies at you, until you eventually lose. This is the part that always kicked my ass when I was a kid. These two guys come out of the mountain. Oh no! It's no secret I was better at video games when I was younger, had way more time. Sadly, this version of Double Dragon does not have a two-player simultaneous mode, so you can fight all of the bad guys with a friend, but you can fight a friend. There's a two-player versus option in the game, which frankly, isn't really all that great. However, the game is Double Dragon, and I've got a double-sized classic game room shout-out and thank you going to my friend Mark and his wife Suzanne in East Meadow, New York. How is the jump kick your weakest attack? I feel like the jump kick should be your strongest attack. This is true. Why is the jump kick your weakest attack? I mean, it just makes logical sense that your jump kick would be the strongest attack, although I like kneeing bad guys in the face and throwing them. That's fun too. It's fun in this game also. Now we are in the scene from Aliens. It's like we've entered Gradius. Thank you again, Mark and Suzanne. I like the level diversity in Double Dragon as well. It's just a great all-around game, one of my favorites for sure, and I'm thrilled to play it again. There's a whole bunch of sequels, as you probably know, across pretty much every game system ever made. This one will probably always be my favorite. Jump! Get away from the boulders! Every time! No! Don't get hit by the friggin' stalactites! How do you get... After all that, I lose when I get hit in the head by a rock. It's like a normal day. For this review, I'll be using the Analog NT with the Famicom Disk System to play Famicom Grand Prix 2 3D Hot Rally. And I've got three people to thank for this review. Analog Interactive for loaning me the Analog NT, watch my full review of that. Felicity from Worcestershire, England sent the Famicom Disk System, and Greg, sitting next door, who loves Icy Light Mango, is letting me play 3D Hot Rally. This game is great, and you're going to want a copy, so you're welcome. You'll also probably want the Analog NT, and for that one you're double welcome, because it doesn't come cheap. But as you can see, this game looks and sounds amazing. An audiophile and videophile Famicom is the way to go. I'm playing this with S-Video and stereo audio. And let me comment on those awesome streetlights. which are like dinosaurs. I want those on my street. So, when did they make a Famicom Grand Prix 1? Well, many years ago. This is the sequel, Famicom Grand Prix 2, which can be enjoyed in 3D if you have the glasses, which I don't. You start off by choosing one of 3 vehicles and compete in one of 3 different rallies. This entire game is like Nintendo's answer to Outrun. And what's hard to believe is that it's not better known than it is. This predates Mario Kart, and it feels like someone reverse engineered Outrun. So it's very similar, but a completely different game. You choose your path through each of the courses, and if you don't reach the checkpoints in time, you lose. If you hit enough stuff, your car breaks. And you want to keep an eye out for those exclamation points, which give you the turbo boost, or activate the hot button. And that opens up a 5th gear, which gives you that turbo speed. That'll come in handy. At least until you start running into things. Your damage meter is on the bottom right, and if you need to, you can pull over and do some repairs, but obviously, you lose some time. Another nice feature is that you can set a repair point in the course, and if you can drive right through it, that'll automatically repair your vehicle for free. It's a very cool game, and harder than it looks. I've only made it through the easy rally so far. My favorite car is the red monster truck Volkswagen Beetle. The one that looks like the Porsche here is the fastest, but does not go off-road well. And then there's the rally truck thing, which is in the middle. Here's a race where I'm about to explode, but wait, I'm going to pull over and let my guys do some repair work. But I'll also lose a lot of time and eventually lose the race. Check out the time bank right in the middle. If you can make it through the checkpoints early, you get some bonus time. The courses are nice and fairly lengthy. There's a variety of terrains that you'll be driving on. And obviously, some repeat gameplay is a must, so you can choose the best path through the course with the best vehicle and win. This is such a cool game, it's a shame that it's not on the NES. This one has been left to obscurity, and it's too good for that. I'm calling it now. Famicom Grand Prix 2 is a top 10 game from 1988. If I could go back in time, after slaughtering Jar Jar and inventing the internet, I would bring this game some more attention. Because it's really fun, the controls are great, and who doesn't love the Famicom disk system? It's just so damn cool. The only problem I've had is during some of the lengthy races, the screen visuals seem to get a little buggy, but I understand that's an issue with the disc, not the Analog NT or the Famicom disk system. It did it on the Sharp Twin Famicom 2. So says Greg. Blame him. Send him a case of Icy Light Mango. What? You said you love that stuff. Also, how good is the music in this game? Famicom Grand Prix 2. Thanks again to Analog Interactive, Greg, and Felicity. It may be pricey to find and play this one, but I assure you it's worth it. And check out the awesome cover artwork. We've got Mario and Luigi riding in the bug. Such a kick-ass game. Macross, If you've been watching this show for a while, you know I'm a huge fan of Robotech, and Macross is the anime upon which Robotech was based. Or maybe a better way to put that is re-edited and dubbed, and then combined with 2 other anime. This is Macross on the Nintendo Famicom, all the way from 1985. The year that those of us in the US were getting Robotech for the first time. And over the past year, I've gone through a Macross kick where I bought the DVDs of the original series in Japanese and picked up Do You Remember Love, the full-length movie, which is incredible, by the way. If you haven't seen that, that's totally worth watching. But anyway, the writing in the original series is obviously a little bit different, pretty similar for the most part, but the music is just something else. Like, I love the music in Macross, and I like the music in Robotech too. They're both good, but both totally different. Macross has more of a disco James Bond feel to it, which is just amazing. The Robotech theme in the soundtrack has more of a Star Wars influence to it, I think. Both good, just totally different, and of course the incredible Macross music is pretty much completely lost here in the Famicom version. Instead, we get a shrill recreation of the theme song, played over and over and over and over again until it drives you crazy, and you'll have to make up your own words to it.
Macaroons, macaroons, I love you, tasty macaroons.
Yeah, by level 5 I started to get a little bit crazy because the gameplay, like the music, gets repetitive quickly. You're flying a transforming Valkyrie, it's awesome. You're blowing up aliens, which is awesome. It's Macross, which is awesome. Why is this game not awesome? You play through the same level over and over and over again until you eventually explode or get bored. Which is a shame, because it doesn't look or play that bad, it just doesn't go anywhere. Like a second date with Min-Mei. That was terrible. I'm totally keeping it in.
Woo!
And, yep, that's what she said.
That one was for Lisa. Macaroons, macaroons.
You can transform your Valkyrie into 3 modes. The, what is that, Gerwalk, Batroid, and Fighter.
Macaroons, macaroons. Fighting for the future. Something, something, Transformers, Transformers.
Like GoBots, but better! It's Macross on the Famicom. Off-key like usual. The Guardian mode, half jet, half robot, is the best for the space scenes, but when you get inside the Zentradi ship or whatever, you'll want the jet, which is the fastest to get to the core quickly, blow it up, and then score some bonus points and repeat the whole process again. Which is boring. And it probably doesn't help that this looks exactly like Thexter, and you're really way better off playing Thexter instead of Macross.
Yeah!
I didn't want to believe it, but this is basically just a crappy licensed game. Thankfully, it doesn't cost all that much. I spent $10 and, well, my loss is your gain. Spend your money elsewhere on the Famicom because there's way better spaceship games than this. Keep an eye out for power-ups, you get extra health, you collect missiles, and you launch them with the select button. While it's a good-looking game for the era, the level design is just non-existent, and that ruins it. If you're looking for a good Macross game, go with Scrambled Valkyrie on the Super Famicom or Macross on the PlayStation 2, that's also excellent. And I picked up Do You Remember Love for the Sega Saturn, but haven't played it yet, so I'm hoping it's better than this. Macross, like Min-Mei, it's pretty and promises big things, but in the end, just hooks up with her cousin.
Woo! Yes! That one was for Claudia.
Banished from Earth Classic Game Room broadcasts from the Intergalactic Space Arcade on its never-ending mission to review everything. Welcome to Classic Game Room, where I have a rare case of Nintendo Does What Sega Don't. It plays this Sega game cartridge on a Famicom. Just wrap your mind around that. This is Afterburner. Okay, so maybe these sounds aren't that good here, but you know the game is fun. This is Sega's Afterburner, published by Sunsoft for the Nintendo Famicom. That's right, instead of taking off from the Sega Enterprise, it's the Sun Enterprise. You can also find Afterburner published by Tengen for the Nintendo Entertainment System in the West, and believe it or not, I've never actually played this version of Afterburner. I've enjoyed it on Sega game consoles, but never the Famicom. This is really disappointing compared to the Sega Genesis version of Afterburner 2, obviously, but somewhat comparable to the Sega Master System version if you're comparing 8-bit apples to apples. I think the Master System version looks a lot better, but both games suffer serious frame rate issues, which makes them really jerky once you start to move around and try to dodge enemy fire or lock on to bad guys. So your best bet is to try to just fly in a straight line and hope they move into your gunfire, because they're morons. Sometimes they aren't though, and that's when you get shot down. Sega's Afterburner was originally released to the arcades in 1987, and it's a great game from legendary game designer Yu Suzuki, known for other games such as Outrun, another one of my Sega favorites. You're scored for the distance that you travel, and for blowing up enemies. To be fair, this is not a bad 8-bit version of Afterburner. If you had a Famicom or an NES back in the day, you could do a lot worse. You could not have Afterburner. And not having Afterburner in your life is a sad, empty space that needs to be filled with more Afterburner. The problem here is that I grew up with the Sega Genesis version of Afterburner. And I'm also partial to Top Gun on the NES. But if you're collecting for the Famicom, this isn't too bad. I should point out that I'm also reviewing this back-to-back with the Sega 32X version of the game, and yeah, that's not even fair. This is one of my favorite songs on one of my favorite game soundtracks ever, and the Famicom doesn't do a bad job if you can hear it behind the enormous hum.
Oh, come on. Stupid-ass enemies.
I've never really figured out the best way to play Afterburner, because flying for distance gives you the most points, but you gotta shoot down some enemies or they're going to blow you up. Over time, I've developed this brilliant strategy of flying in giant circles and just trying to dodge everything while maybe occasionally shooting down some enemies, and I think that's exactly what they teach you in Top Gun, or at least that's what I choose to believe. You only have a limited number of missiles, but after each couple rounds you will restock. And for those of you who are still suffering from 8-bit nightmares of trying to land the F-14 in Top Gun, it will land automatically for you in Afterburner. Cowards. So check it, even though this is the Japanese version of Afterburner on the Famicom, it was sent to the show by Al in Chicago, Illinois, home of the World's Fair of 1893, and an exciting city with lots of great steak. So thank you, Al, and thank you, Yu Suzuki, because you rock. So many hours of my life have been spent on your games.
Oh, get away from me.
Welcome to Classic Game Room, where I'm in a great mood today for lots of reasons. 1, I'm decked out in Atari. 2, I'm drinking beer. 3, I'm about to review Moero Twinbee for the Nintendo Famicom Disk System, which is just amazing. So sit back, relax, grab a beer, and enjoy. Alright, this game is really good, but before you freak out and order a copy on eBay, along with a prohibitively expensive Famicom Disk System, know that this has a Western release called Stinger on the NES. I haven't played that version, but I believe this is the same game, and Stinger is really cheap and easy to find. I'm playing this one because I love floppy disks, and it's the one that Mark sent to the show, so let's rock some Twinbee. When playing Twinbee, I need the advantage, the NES advantage, for all of my screaming and yelling about Sega, Vectrex, and Atari. The advantage is really one of my favorite controllers of all time, and excuse me, as I switch sides. It's like a Laserdisc player, except without lasers. Throughout this entire review, I'm playing this with the Famicom Disk System plugged into the Analog NT Mini for maximum performance! Time to rock! Released in 1986, I believe this is the second game in Konami's excellent Twinbee series, according to Wikipedia. The English translation of the full title is Burn Twinbee to the Rescue of Dr. Cinnamon, which is quite a title. Why'd they change that? Why'd they make it Stinger? Anyway, if you've played any of the other Twinbee games, you should be familiar with the juggling power-ups concept, which is really a big part of what makes Twinbee Twinbee. This one is a combination horizontally scrolling spaceship shooter and vertically scrolling spaceship shooter, which is kind of rare. That always reminds me of Thunder Force 2, which is a good thing. It's easy to lose focus in Twinbee, though juggling all those bells, trying to get the exact power-up you want, can be deadly. The bells are hidden inside clouds, and when you shoot the clouds, the bells pop out, and as you juggle them, they change colors. Yellow gives you points. Blue increases your speed, white gives you some added firepower. The red ones, I think, give you super firepower, and there's another one that gives you a shield. When starting your game, I recommend immediately going for additional speed and then firepower, and then start chaining all of the gold ones together for huge points. Which gets you extra lives. Also, make sure to bomb ground targets for some additional power-ups. The vertical scrolling segments are kind of like Xevious, where you shoot the air targets with your lasers and then bomb the ground targets with bombs. It's an absolutely wonderful game trying to balance collecting these power-ups by juggling bells with just staying alive. Because it's insanely hard. If you're destroyed and lose your speed and weapon power-ups, you're screwed. Although I still managed to defeat the flying turd that shoots pencils. The enemy designs are great. Hey, let's experience the loading time together. I wonder if the NES version has this. I mean, it's way faster than Hyperscan, so at least it's got that going for it. Also, it's not the Hyperscan, so it has that going for it. I'm not really sure what that is, but if you look on the bottom right there, I think I'm bombing Lucy from the Peanuts. The power-up that you really want to look for is the spread shot. And you'll find it in some of the ground targets. They don't change location game to game, so once you figure out where it is, just use your human brain and remember it. I love the color in this game, the level designs are a lot of fun, and at some point it gets so fast and frantic and you're moving so quickly that really all you can do is just focus on shooting things and staying alive and just collect whatever bells happen to rain on your ship. At least that's what I do. I'm doing all that I can here just to not crash into things. Now, I'm not entirely sure how you activate this, but sometimes between levels there's a bonus game where you can score even more points. Seriously, this one is as much fun as it looks. It's great.
Bonus game! Bonus. 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 It's like multi-ball. 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 Multi. Woo! Now that's a big score. Let's go.
When you are destroyed, your speed and power-ups will float away from you like a ghost. If you're lucky, you can catch them, but most of the time you're just screwed. But it's still fun every time. The Twinbee is great, and I've got a classic game room shout out and thank you going to my friend Mark in East Meadow, New York. Once again, thank you, Mark. How can a game with an anthropomorphic weaponized boombox be bad? It's not bad. Moero Twinbee is very good.
Thank you for finally giving me a speed power-up after I've been killed. That was easy. All too easy. With the advantage and skill. Incredible amounts of skill.
If you think this looks fun, it is also called Stinger. Hunt it down for your collection today.
Sit back and relax because it's classic game room time. Prepare to enjoy the review of Altered Beast on the Nintendo Famicom, not just for the Genesis anymore. Love the packaging art. Wise from your grave! Oh, come on, where are the voices? That was like the best part of Altered Beast. Sadly, they've been removed and replaced with this game. It's Altered Beast on the Nintendo Famicom, which is laughably bad and good at the same time. Altered Beast would have been a fairly forgettable 1988 Sega arcade game had it not come packed in with the Sega Genesis when it was new. When I bought my Genesis in 1989, it came with Altered Beast, so I played the hell out of Altered Beast. It's not a great game, it's just really likable. And it definitely had a look and feel and that voice dialogue that set it apart from the 8-bit NES. Well, here's the 8-bit Famicom version, and as you can plainly see, Sega does what Nintendo don't. Or at least Sega licensed Nintendo an intentionally bad version of the game. Oh, still no voice dialogue.
Yes, it's not good, but in a way it's so bad that it's good. Because as an Altered Beast fan, I just like to see something different done with Altered Beast. And this just has a unique look and sound to it that sets it apart from all of the other versions out there. In fact, I had to review this back-to-back with the Sega Master System version of Altered Beast, which looks better, but is actually less playable than this one. Even though this looks like a deformed, weird version of Castlevania or something, it plays fairly well considering the source material. I have to admit, had I not grown up with the Genesis version, had I played this one first, I may have really enjoyed it. It's got dragons and it's weird and it's what Altered Beast is, just not nearly as good as the Genesis one. It's also way too short and really easy all the way up to the end, but the other game's kind of like that too. I love the box art and the cartridge design. No, that's incredible. Look at this. Great stuff there. This version of the game has some different creatures, and I kinda like what they did with the music, to be honest. It's not that bad. One of the things I always enjoyed about Altered Beast was walking around and kicking your enemies in the shins. At least they kept that part of the game intact. Also, I enjoyed the two-player mode on the Sega Genesis, which you won't find here. You will find me repeatedly falling off the ledges in this part of the game, and also check the extra live icons for each level. I like the teddy bear in this one. Now I'm a green bear that shoots lasers. You can't go wrong with that, even if they've made Altered Beast look like this. You can compare it to the 8-bit Master System version of the game when I review that, but the fact is I think you need 16 bits in order to truly enjoy Altered Beast. It's the blast processing that makes it good. And I've got a classic game room shout out and thank you to send to my man Mark from Fresh Meadows, New York. Once again, thank you Mark. All hail Truxton. All hail laser bubble shooting fish people in Altered Beast. Here on the Famicom, for serious collectors only. Banished from Earth Classic Game Room broadcasts from the Intergalactic Space Arcade on its never-ending mission to review everything. Welcome to Classic Game Room, where it's time to break bricks on your Famicom disk system. This is like Konami's answer to Arkanoid. It's known as Crackout in the West. In fact, it says so in Sharpie on the back. I love that the Western title of the game is Crackout. Like Breakout was already taken, so we'll call it Crackout. I think I prefer Kaze no Kabe Block Kuzushi, to be honest. That's the Japanese name of the game, KDS-NZN for you collectors. A game that plays a whole lot like another game you've probably heard of, and that game would be Arkanoid. So think of this as Konami's answer to Taito's Arkanoid. It's a brick-breaking game in the vein of Breakout, or Pong, where you use a paddle to bounce a ball back at targets, except this one has cartoon dragons and a totally different style. It's also played with the D-pad. Kaze no Kabe Block Kazushi also has flying eyeballs, something you can never get enough of. Yes. What you do is simple. You bounce the ball back at the bricks, break them, score points, and move on to the next level while collecting power-ups that fall from broken bricks. Except Crackout just keeps getting wilder and wackier along the way.
And it's such a blatant Arkanoid ripoff, but it is stylish, and it's fun even if it's a little bit slow compared to many of its other brick-breaking competitors. It actually has the exact same problem with Arkanoid, and I love Arkanoid, but you get to that one last brick, which is just a complete pain in the ass to hit. And the game seems to take forever. Yeah! So learn to aim using the paddle. Bouncing the ball on the side of the paddle makes it go left or right. And the power-ups are, of course, critical. Also, like Arkanoid, the game picks up speed the longer you're playing on a level. I like the cheerful music, and I love the save game feature. I have no idea if Crackout has it. I have not played the Western release. But I checked on eBay, and the Japanese version here and Crackout are both super cheap and easy to collect. And if you love Arkanoid or Breakout, I would give it a shot. It's got some different features and clever enemies that make it interesting, like these numbers that you have to hit to clear them off the screen. There's lots of power-ups like slowdown, multi-ball, missile, a shotgun-like blast. That comes in handy if you're trying to hit tricky targets. Yeah! And I love the cartridge, or in this case, the disc artwork. Looks great. I've got a classic game room shout out and thank you to send to Andrew from Burlington. Not just anywhere, Burlington, New Jersey. These levels start to become a real pain in the ass, especially when you've got challenging enemies like these, and bricks which are all hidden by unbreakable bricks that you have to hit numerous times. Crackout requires some patience. So does Nazo no Kabe Block Kuzushi on the Famicom Disk System. Same game. If you can find this one for a good price and you enjoy brick-breaking games, I'll recommend it. It's kind of neat. Not the best one I've played, but far from the worst. It's known as Crackout, being played here on the Nintendo Famicom Disk System, and there's just something so amazing about playing Famicom discs. Like a combination floppy disk and plastic game cartridge in one. Gotta love these things. Thanks again, Andrew. Thanks again, New Jersey!
Oh, this looks brutal. I like some opening music that I can dance to. This is Exerion for the Famicom, released in 1985, and get your wallets ready because you're not leaving this review without a copy. Exerion is terrific, and as far as I know, I'm not entirely sure. I don't believe this has an NES release, a Nintendo Entertainment System release. This is the Nintendo Famicom version being played on the Analog Interactive Analog NT. Exerion is a lot like Galaxian or Phoenix if your laser cannon slid around on a sheet of ice. The spaceship that you're flying in this game has some awkward handling characteristics. It's hard to describe, but that's part of what makes Exerion unique and really fun and playable, and a bit different from a lot of the other games in this genre, like Space Invaders and Galaga, for example. Another huge difference is that you have two different firing modes, rapid fire and a twin shot. Your twin shot has unlimited ammo, and your rapid fire laser space machine gun has limited ammo, and you'll score new laser machine gun rounds by hitting enemies with your twin shot, or during the bonus rounds. The music and sound effects are weird, the name of the game is weird, the art design on the cartridge is weird, and I love every bit of its weirdness. This game is terrific, and the best part is that it's dirt cheap, too. I don't have the instructions, and if I did, I probably couldn't read them anyway, but it seems like if you machine gun a lot of the enemies in a row without missing, you get some bonus points. Maybe? Not sure, but you definitely want to get enemies off the screen or they'll shoot at you, and odds are you'll run into their laser fire, because your spaceship looks small on screen, but I think it's actually a Star Destroyer. It basically flies like a 500 billion ton spaceship that's always got some inertia in the direction that it's heading, so it won't turn on a dime. Dogfighting with a Star Destroyer may be the best analogy I've ever come up with. Because not only do I love Star Destroyers, but that's also pretty accurate. The inertia effect is what separates Exerion from all of the other games in this genre, and the background just constantly messes with your eyeballs. Yet, you can't stop playing. Watch out for the rebounding missiles, and look, there's pyramids and giant heads in the pink sky. How's it taken me this long to play this game? Have you ordered a copy yet? It seems like there's a bunch of them on eBay, so go get one. Now, you won't regret it. You've played this game before, but the two different shot types, the ability to conserve some of your machine gun ammo, the wild sounds and backgrounds, and the unique control scheme make this such a must-play for fans of old-school arcade games. It's like Galaxian, but weirder. And what's not to love about that? I've got a classic game room shout out and thank you to send to Mark and Suzanne from Fresh Meadows in New York. Exerion is awesome. Thanks for sending it to the show. Highly recommended. It really is awesome, but it's also extremely frustrating because you see these shots coming at you in slow motion, but your Star Destroyer just won't move out of the way in time. It's a really cool game. So thanks again, Mark and Suzanne. Thanks to the brilliant developers who created this, and let's take another look at the amazing cartridge artwork. This has got to be one of the greatest video game cartridges that I've ever seen right here. I love the title font. It's a blue cartridge, which is really cool. We've got an F-14 flying in space, fighting what appears to be a robot space dragon, shooting missiles at it, and there's spaceships over here, and craters filled with lava and fire. And this is hard to beat. Exerion. Bird Week looks pretty cool, though. What's up, birds? Needs more lava. Banished from Earth Classic Game Room broadcasts from the Intergalactic Space Arcade on its never-ending mission to review everything. Curiosity killed the dragon. That ate the cat. That was also curious. You're about to become extinct. If you aren't already. Are walruses extinct? Or are they just robots? Welcome to Classic Game Room. What's better than dragons playing Xevious? You playing Xevious and Dragon Spirit on the Famicom. It's the sword from Thundercats. You should look into that thing. Call the rest of the Thundercats. And then go grab a beer with Panthro, because he's just awesome. This is Dragon Spirit for the Nintendo Famicom, originally released to the arcades in 1987 from Namco. Dragon Spirit is like Xevious, if Xevious was dragons. Yeah! I win the game! I've won! Oh wait, there's more. Oh yeah, that's right, there is. Forgot about that. I previously reviewed Dragon Spirit, the New Legend for Nintendo Entertainment System. Dragon Spirit on the Famicom is nearly identical, except much of the text is in Japanese. Start the game! I have a power of the Famicom! Convenient, that's in English. So it's like I'm playing the same game twice, and that's fine, as long as it's a good game, like this, because Dragon Spirit is an excellent top-down vertical scrolling spaceship-style shooter featuring dragons, and who doesn't love dragons?
This is crap. I mean, how would a dragon be hurt by icicles? Should be wiping my ass with these things. Whoa! Somebody should put a sign there. I love jelly beans. I mean, to be fair, who doesn't love jelly beans? If you don't like jelly beans, there's something wrong with you. You need to go to therapy. Why don't I like jelly beans? Well, you just hate fun. Oh, fuck you, dragon.
In case you missed my NES review of this game, what you do is fairly simple. You blow up everything in front of you with your dragon. You can shoot air targets and bomb ground targets, collecting power-ups along the way, but also be careful because you can power down. I believe this is technically Dragon Spirit, the New Legend, which is, the sequel to Dragon Spirit. It's pretty awesome, it plays well, it looks good, and it sounds great, except I can't read the Japanese text this time.
Nobody cares what you have to say. Get off the screen.
Even though this is basically the exact same version of the game as the NES version, there is a reason to buy the Famicom release instead. Let me show you, because the packaging is incredible. Beautiful artwork, full color instruction manual, and you get stickers.
Help me, my shirt is on fire. This is very hot. What's that thing? Is that a friendship bracelet? I love friends. Oh, yeah, I remember this part. Just gotta stay still and just drive through it. Like I'm driving a dragon, which technically I am. Oh, no you don't! Oh wait, yes you did. Damn. What was my little I had a better pattern for this last time I played the game. It's like an Etch-a-Sketch from hell. This is a very untrustworthy trust tree. It's trying to kill me. I don't trust you at all. Die! Feel my dragon Xevious bombs. Fucker. Which part of die didn't you understand? You insolent bad things? Well, what's that? That doesn't look good. And why did I get it? Why did I get the thing that didn't look good? It's like I was just curious. I wanted to see what it would do, and now I know. Don't get the thing that looks like an unhappy skull again. Forgot that your powers can go backwards in this game. Shoot. Give me something good. Was that didn't appear to be good at all. Does this game have pandas that you can bomb? I don't know why, I'm just in the mood to bomb pandas.
Aw, come on, Mark, who isn't? So a huge classic game room shout out and thank you once again to our familiar friend, Felicity, in Worcestershire, England, for sending Dragon Spirit on the Famicom all the way into space to be on Classic Game Room. If you have a Famicom, I recommend picking this game up. If you have an NES, get the NES version. Dragon Spirit, the New Legend.
You're supposed to be a good guy, Spider-Man! What's up with this? Oh! Goddamn right. Dragon versus Spider-Man, Dragon wins! I am going to bomb some baby seals, and you're going to watch me do it. Woo! Stupid seals, die! Wait, those are walruses. I'm sorry. I need to go back to grade school again. Learn my animals. Oh yeah, you can't touch the sides of this thing. Whoops. That's what I get for calling walruses seals. I've insulted the animal kingdom. I am disrespecting you. And you will like it.
As a diehard Sega Genesis fanboy, I have to admit that there's a soft spot in my blast processing fueled heart for the Nintendo Famicom disk system. I just love this thing. Because it plays Nintendo brand floppy disks. I love floppies, especially when they come with an extra side of floppy. What makes the floppy so good? Magic. It delivers great music, and I love the Nintendo logo stamped into the yellow plastic on the discs. It's just such a great add-on for the Nintendo Famicom, and this is a great version of Gyruss, which is pretty much the same version that we got on the Nintendo Entertainment System, or the NES here in the West, except this is on a floppy disk, which immediately makes it better. So, you've never played Gyruss. What, have you been living under a rock? Get out from under your rock and play some Gyruss. It's like this fabulous combination of Konami's Gradius and Atari's Tempest, where you fly through this space vortex or something like an invisible tube and rotate around the screen rather than flying vertically or horizontally. In the US for the NES, this was released under Konami's Ultra label. In Japan, for the Famicom Disk System, it was released by Konami. 2 warps to Uranus. 5th grade Mark always finds that funny. If I close my eyes, I swear this game sounds like Contra, which of course sounds like heaven. Love the music and sound effects in Gyruss, as well as the gameplay. It's just a solid game. There's really nothing else like it. You blast your way through 3 levels on each stage, fight an end boss, and then there's some bonus rounds in there to give you big bonus points. For the most part, you want to keep moving so things don't shoot you, but you've also got to be careful not to run into stuff like enemies, asteroids, and lasers. The end bosses in particular start to become a real pain in the ass later on in the game, but for the most part, Gyruss is actually very approachable. If you've never played it before, or if you're trying to get your kids into old school games, you can dive right into this one and have a great time. It's not nearly as punishing as Tempest or Gradius, or numerous other 80s arcade games. During the gameplay here, for the most part, I'm concentrating on staying alive and shooting enemies, but if you get really serious about Gyruss, you can try to pick off all of the waves of enemies coming towards you and score bonus points, which is dangerous because then you really can't see what's flying behind them, like an asteroid that might run right into you, so there's a good bit of risk versus reward here, which is what I think makes for a great arcade game. You've probably also noticed that I have some super special shots, which are the orange power-ups that you see floating around the screen every now and then. Sitting here editing this as I record, and it's tough to break away from the music. It's so good. Visually, Gyruss isn't one of Konami's more exciting games. It's not nearly as cool looking as Contra or Life Force, but it doesn't need to be. It just plays really well. On one hand, it's extremely simple and easy to get into, but on the other hand, if you're going to really master this game, you're going to need to learn to fly in circles, which is somewhat counterintuitive at first. I've never seen the arcade game. I actually don't know if this one has a radial controller like Tempest does. Using the D-pad on your Famicom or NES controller takes some getting used to, but once you get the hang of it, it plays like a breeze. If that breeze is a giant brain thing locked in some kind of chocolate-covered coating. With flailing arms, I just save my power shots for this thing. If you think this looks cool, or you love Gyruss but haven't played it in a long time, you don't need a Famicom disk system. This is on NES. It's really cheap and easy to find. It's also on ColecoVision, Atari, and a bunch of other game systems. This review has been brought to you by two people, so here's a dual classic game room shout out and thank you going to Felicity from Worcestershire, England. Thank you for sending the Famicom Disk System, and to Mark and Suzanne from East Meadow, New York. Thank you for sending the AV Famicom upon which this is being played, and Gyruss. Super highly recommended for your Famicom Disk System or NES or anything else that plays Gyruss for that matter. It's a classic game, one of Konami's best. Banished from Earth Classic Game Room broadcasts from the intergalactic space arcade on its never-ending mission to review everything. What's part spaceship shooter, part puzzle game, and all awesome? That's right, it's Quarth from Konami, released in 1990. Being played here on the Famicom. Quarth, one of the few games that begins with a Q, like Qbert or Truxton, because Truxton begins with all letters. Quarth is a game that you'd think I wouldn't like, because I hate puzzle games and I suck at Tetris, but I love this one. It's really good. And I reviewed this years ago on the Game Boy. It makes a great Game Boy game. It's hard to say that it's any better on the Famicom, but it just looks more like a Famicom or an NES game. It's a pretty simple game for the most part visually, but boy is it fun and incredibly challenging. So hang on to something because let's dive into some Quarth. I think there's some parts of the country where you could still be arrested for diving into Quarth. Who can say? So what do you do in this game? Well, you shoot blocks and score points. That's the most literal explanation. It's not at all like Tetris, even though it kind of is. So that was basically a very useless statement that just took up 2 seconds of your life. You're welcome. As you can probably tell from watching the gameplay, you try to make squares or rectangles and then score points. And if you can, like, make one giant square or rectangle, usually a rectangle, and fill in a couple things at once, you get some multiplier points. It's tricky until you play for a while and just sort of program your brain to the gameplay. Then it all makes sense. It's like reading The Matrix. I'm watching the gameplay while I'm editing this going, oh, you missed that. Oh, that was so obvious. But when you're playing the game, I don't think it's quite as obvious, because if you don't fill in all of the blocks before they reach that line at the bottom of the screen, you die, and then you lose a life. And are sucked into the vacuum of space, screaming, Quarth! Quarth! For all eternity. The more you play the game, the more you'll see in advance what block combinations would make some bonus multipliers. It starts off slow. The first 2 or 3 levels are pretty easy, but then the game really starts moving quickly and keeps you on your toes. As you may have noticed from the menu screen, there's some 2-player options. I didn't get into them. Can't seem to get too many other people excited about games that begin with a Q. They all think it's Qbert. Like, no, it's a game that begins with a Q. Like Fester's Quest. Suddenly they run away, screaming. But it's Quarth! Quarth! It's great with some voice effects. And really, it's great with anything. Just turn up the volume and rock out to the bouncy tune. This is one of those games that doesn't look like much until you play it. I think you'll be immediately addicted to Quarth. which is also illegal in many places. When you start the game, you can choose your level, and there's 2 different spaceship-like things to choose from, although I don't know if there's any difference between the 2. I can't really seem to figure that out. Then again, I'm not smart enough to play Quarth. I'm the idiot that thinks Fester's quest begins with a Q. Seriously though, if you like spaceship games and puzzle games, give this one a try. It's such an underrated classic, and the Game Boy version is terrific. I reviewed that a while ago. It may be the better version just because this makes a really good mobile game, and they did a good job with the Game Boy version. And as you might expect, I have a classic game room shout out and thank you going to the world's biggest Konami fan, a man who's also addicted to Quarth, loves to dive into Quarth, my man Mark, and his wife Suzanne from East Meadow, New York. Keep on Quarthing. Despite its reputation, Quarth is good for you. It challenges your reflexes and your brain because you see things in advance and you try to, at least I tried to make these giant bricks out of things, not only to realize that I was making my life more difficult, and then there'd just be these giant stacks of blocks flying right towards my line, and then I died, and then next time I tried to lay down 4 at once and then 3, but then you accidentally put down 1 somewhere you're not supposed to. And it's just a really fun game. Quarth being played here on the analog NT Mini, so it looks really nice because you know you want your Quarth to look good. The more you play, the better you'll get. So much Quarth. So little Quarthtime. What's that? You've never played Falsion on the Famicom Disk System? Well, you might want to after watching this. Actually, even better than watching it is listening to it. The music in Falsion, the music from the Famicom Disk System in general, is incredible. I'm rocking this review with the Famicom Disk System hooked up through the Analog Interactive Analog NT, and as you can see, it looks and sounds fabulous. But is the game as good as it looks and sounds? Almost. This one's a lot like a Galaxy Force 2 from Sega or Space Harrier, where there's things coming directly at you and you're supposed to shoot them before you run into them or something. So it's frequently tough to tell when you're going to fly into enemies or run into their laser fire. This one works with the 3D glasses on the Famicom. I don't have those, so keep in mind I'm only enjoying this in 2 dimensions, in 2D. I'm old school. I still haven't embraced 3 dimensions yet, in any aspect of my life. I have embraced the amazing music and visual style of Falsion, though. And as far as I know, this one is a Famicom Disk System exclusive. I don't believe it was released onto the NES. So here's what you do. You fly around and shoot aliens, but don't forget to collect some missiles because they come in super handy. However, If you die, you lose all your missiles. So don't die, ever. Life without missiles in Falsion is like life without beer and Star Wars on Laserdisc in real life. It's just not worth living. Because what happens is you end up getting surrounded by enemies, all of whom are firing at you, but you can't see their laser fire because you're flying in front of them. So you want to stay out of the way and launch homing missiles at them to take out some of the really dangerous ones. But if you run out of missiles, well, you're pretty much doomed. After each level, you fight an end boss, and it starts out pretty easy, but by level 3, Falsion gets downright punishing quickly. But is it punishing because it's tough, or because you just really can't see what's in front of you? I've got some mixed opinions on this one. I love the music and the style, but I do find the gameplay a bit frustrating. The fact is, Star Fox, Galaxy Force 2, Space Harrier are all better games. But Falsion's got that cool late 80s Konami style. And it's on the Famicom disk system, which is tremendous, of course. I checked online, prices vary wildly. I would not overspend on it, though. I've got 3 groups of people to thank for this review. Mark and Suzanne from Fresh Meadows, New York, sent the game. Felicity from Worcestershire, England, sent the Famicom disk system. And Analog Interactive is loaning me the Analog NT, even though I mailed them back a Gamecom. It's a cool game, it has its moments. Maybe it's better with the 3D glasses, haven't tested them, but... It is Falsion, and it's on the Famicom disk system, and it's definitely not Space Harrier.
Whoa, ninja style. This is Ninja Kid, or the Japanese version of it, which I can't pronounce, for the Famicom. Ninja Week on Classic Game Room continues with Ninja Kid for the Famicom, released in 1986. More specifically, this is the Japanese version of the game known as Ninja Kid for the NES, or Nintendo Entertainment System. As I understand it, they're very similar. I have actually not played Ninja Kid. But if it's anything like this, it's gotta be good, because this game is great. And it has ninjas, and Frankenstein, and ghosts and floating skulls, all good things. Most importantly, it's fun. The gameplay is great, the music is, as you hear, excellent. And it's more than your average side-scroller on the NES. Yes, there's lots of these games on the Famicom, or Nintendo Entertainment System, the 8-bit game console from back in the day that many of us grew up with. And a lot of them just required straight memorization. This one always keeps you on your toes. It's never quite the same. It's sneaky, it's unpredictable, it's likable, it's Ninja Kid. So what you do is you start off on this top-down map where you make your way through a level, entering different caves or towers or dungeons or whatever these are, battling through them and then fighting an end boss. Moving on to the next map. Each level has some objectives and lots of enemies. There's a certain number of things you have to kill or collect in order to open some doors and then move on. Or in the case of this level, and the skull one you saw earlier, you have to light these candles with your little lighter buddy or whatever that is. It's like the spark from Donkey Kong, your fairy friend engulfed in flames. So, on the surface, this feels like a fun and relatively predictable side-scrolling action game, but there's like so many levels. It's a really advanced game for the NES. Or, I'm sorry, in this case, the Famicom.
Right in the eyeball.
Sometimes after you complete a side-scrolling level, you move to a vertical one and then fight a sub-boss.
Go get him.
As you make your way through these dungeons, you find some items which are helpful and then aid you in the final boss battle. Like this walking mattress that moves back and forth. I treated that thing like a shield in Space Invaders. Here's a couple pro tips. Don't shoot the things you're trying to collect, and I think you need that sphere to open up the end boss. And the things that look like flutes or giant noses, summon your friends during boss battles. I like this one. It's got a nice style, it's likable, I think the gameplay is clever and fun. I'm always terrible at platformers, but I'll highly recommend Ninja Kid, which is also relatively cheap and easy to collect for the NES or the Famicom. Here's another look at the box art and the cartridge, which are pretty cool, and this was sent to the show by Jeremy in North Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada! Thank you, Jeremy, for sending the Japanese Ninja Kid on Famicom and its sequel.
What is this thing?
If you think it looks fun, it is. It's ninja fun.
Vanished from Earth Classic Game Room broadcasts from the Intergalactic Space Arcade on its never-ending mission to review everything.
Welcome to Classic Game Room for the review of Nuts and Milk on the Famicom. Yes, it's a silly name, but this is one of the best games I've played this year. Let's see why. Nuts and Milk. Nuts and Milk. Good game, though. What are you doing, little Jimmy? Why, I'm playing with my nuts and milk on the Famicom from Hudson Soft, released in 1984. How's it possible Nuts and Milk never received a Western release on the NES? If any game gives Seaman a run for its money, it's this one. You don't torture a fish in this game, though. You just avoid enemies and score points. So I have to be careful how I say this. Nuts and Milk arrived in a package from my friend Mark in Fresh Meadows, and I knew immediately it would have to go on the show. Although I had no idea what kind of game to expect, and I certainly didn't expect this. It reminds me of Donkey Kong Jr. meets Godzilla on the Game Boy. It's like an arcade-style puzzle game, and it's awesome. For starters, the style is really cool. It's got that early 80s Nintendo style, although according to the internet, this is the first third-party game on the Famicom. But don't quote me on that. Quote the internet, because it's always reliable. I feel like I'm making this look a little bit easier than it is, but I played these early levels a couple hundred times. Getting into the game, what you do is simple. You collect all the fruit while avoiding the baddies and eventually save your girlfriend and score points. I think that's what you're supposed to do. You're the pink one, and I believe your name is Milk. Because when you get extra guys, it shows up in the milk category. It's just an awkward title. Also, that would imply that your girlfriend is nuts. Which accurately fit. Well, no, I'm not gonna go there, never mind. While this looks simple, it's actually pretty tricky. You can only jump when you're moving, and you can't jump if you're hanging on those chain-like things. You can only jump off these solid surfaces. Also, bouncing off those spring pads is by far the hardest thing in the game. Timing is critical. You have to hit the button just before you land or else you don't get a good bounce. And then, most likely, depending on the level, you'll drown horribly. Here's a bonus round. Collect your fruit, score points. Hooray! Aside from the goofy title, I like everything about this game. It's fun to try and figure out how to guide the enemies around the level because they'll always follow you and you can walk them off cliffs and into the water and stuff. I think the little dude looks awesome when he's knocked out. I like the music, I like the gameplay. Everything about Nuts and Milk is amazing. Except it's hard to say with a straight face. Beyond that though, I highly recommend this. Sadly, it doesn't seem to be available anywhere conveniently in the West. It's on the Japanese Virtual Console, so says the internet. That doesn't help those of us in space. But I'm playing this on what appears to be like a Western Nintendo family computer that plugs directly into your composite video plug, just like the NES. And it outputs a great signal, as you can see. I'll be reviewing that soon. And it was also sent to the show by Mark in Fresh Meadows, New York. There's the New York area. Lots of pins now. I shall invade New York with my nuts and milk. Famicom game cartridge. It's the best. You need this game, not just because people will look at you crazy if you say you're playing with your nuts and milk, but because it's also just a fabulous game. But wait, there's more. It's also got a level editor. You can go in there and make your own levels. What a great game. Nuts and milk. Not just a tasty snack anymore. Although personally, I just prefer Chex Mix.
Banished from Earth, classic game room broadcasts from the intergalactic space arcade on its never-ending mission to review everything. Welcome to the Classic Game Room Intergalactic 70s Spacebar powered by Vectrex for the review of Sky Destroyer on the Nintendo Famicom. A real hidden gem. Enjoy! Crash and burn, Mark. It's Sky Destroyer from 1985 for your Nintendo Famicom, and gosh, that music sounds familiar. It's like I almost heard that in a movie somewhere. Sky Destroyer is a real hidden gem on the Famicom. This game was never released in the West, and it really should have been. Because it's a lot of fun, it plays really well, and it kinda reminds me of Top Gun if Top Gun was 1,000 times more difficult. Oh, no! The first couple levels aren't too bad. By the time you get to level 4, it's insanely difficult. So enjoy your first few missions before the battleships and bombers start machine gunning you. In Sky Destroyer, you're flying a Japanese Zero, I think, against those pesky Americans. Which is probably why this wasn't released in the US. This was the 80s, people still kinda cared. These days, though, it's tons of fun, and fairly easy to find on eBay for your Famicom or Retron 5 or whatever, which is what I'm using to play it here. It's a great looking game. Sky Destroyer is basically a shooter on rails. But one of the things that makes it pretty interesting is that you can fly low close to the water and try to bomb ships with your torpedoes. Or fly way up into the air where it's usually easier to dogfight because you can approach enemies from above where they can't shoot you. But seeing as how this is a Taito arcade game, there's a pretty big risk versus reward factor here. You get the big points for blowing up the bombers and the boats, especially the aircraft carriers. Except then you put yourself in serious harm's way. I found that the bombers were just more trouble than they're worth, so avoid the bombers. Just stay away from them and concentrate on the fighters and trying to blow up some aircraft carriers. Which are tough to hit way out there on the horizon, but they really don't shoot back at you, it's just all the other stuff you have to worry about. I think you get more points for destroying the planes when they're closer to you, like the spiders and centipede, except this is usually moving so fast you won't have much time to worry about it. Hitting the enemy airplanes is actually more difficult than it may appear. Even when you're machine gunning them, they'll usually fly through your bullets, so you've got to slowly lead them while avoiding their shots in the process, and eventually the battleships and destroyers and all the other fun things trying to kill you. It's not called Sky Destroyer because you're there to make friends. You're there to destroy things. From the sky. It's awesome. This game is a lot of fun, although ironically it's not the sky that eventually destroys you, it's the water. When you crash and drown and are eaten by sharks. Maybe that would have been a better title. I bet it sounds cool in Japanese. Hey, I've got a classic game room. Shout out and thank you going all the way to Mark and Suzanne. From East Meadow, New York once again. Thank you for Sky Destroyer. This game is a lot of fun if you enjoy games like Top Gun. It doesn't cost all that much online. Pick up Sky Destroyer today or yesterday. Do your part to feed the sharks. They should have some like crunching and eating sounds after you crash. Those pilots are delicious. Do 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 do. It's so close to the Indiana Jones theme. Here's the box for Sky Destroyer, which looks really nice. Thank you again, Mark, for sending this really nice boxed copy of the game. Not sure what the back says. Hopefully that this game is awesome, which it is. So let's open this up. Pull the game in its little plastic sleeve out of there, and I don't have the instructions for this one. But there's the game cartridge, Nintendo Famicom cartridge. Good looking cartridge artwork. Says something on the back I can't read either. Taito Corporation. Sky Destroyer. Great looking game and package. Very colorful. Love the airplanes. Reminds me of Final Countdown, one of my favorite airplane movies. Of course, pretty much any World War II airplane reminds me of Final Countdown. And aircraft carriers that go back in time with F-14s. What a great movie. They should make a game based on that movie for the Famicom. Maybe they did. Maybe this is it. Sky Destroyer.